Vrindaye Tulasi Devyai Priyaye Kesavachacha Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Vrindadevi Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Those offer respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desire trees, and they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and will fulfill the passions of all unconditioned souls.
Well, you got to try it to see if you like it. I like that brand. I like that brand, yeah. That's a good brand. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good brand. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Thank you, Prabhu. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Janarajana Yashodanandana Braja Janarajana Yashodanandana Braja Janarajana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Jaya Gurudev Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sutara His Divine Grace Abhay Charavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Dantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai, Shri Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Shri Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakti Ki Jai, all glories to the Assembly, all glories to the Assembly, all glories to the Assembly, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're reading from the 10th canto. This is chapter 73, text 16. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Hare Paramatmane Pranata Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, Krishnaya to Krishna, Vasudevaya, the son of Vasudeva, Haraye, the Supreme Lord, Hari, Paramatmane, the Super Soul, Pranata, of those who have surrendered, Klesha, of the distress, Nashaya, to the destroyer. Govindaya, to Govinda. Nama Nama, repeated obeisances. Translation: again and again we offer our obeisances unto Lord Krishna, Hari, the son of Vasudeva. That Supreme Soul, Govinda, vanquishes the suffering of all who surrender to him. Please repeat: again and again we offer our obeisances unto Lord Krishna, Hari, the son of Vasudeva. That Supreme Soul, Govinda, vanquishes the suffering of all who surrender to him. Om Jnana Tiramanda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavari Paschatya Deshadarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bir Krishna Das Goswami Niti Namine Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Prayate Sudrita Sudhi Nisyamyam Tasha Vaki Navarine Vanchakalpa Trubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. There's no purport by the servants of the BBT here, but I will read two purports by the Acharyas. There's two very beautiful tikas. First by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Laying down on the ground with 8 limbs touching and singing the names of the Lord, they offered respects with the request to teach them out of mercy, though they were unqualified. We offer respects to Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan, to Vasudeva, who appears as Vasudeva, giving mercy to all jivas, to Hari, who delivers even the demons from the suffering of the material world, to Paramatma, who appears as the super soul for the devotees of Shantaras, and as the source of supreme prema for the devotees of Dasha and other rasas, to the remover of suffering, which create obstacles to bhakti for the sadhana bhaktas, pranata, to Govinda, who reaches out to our senses, such as the eyes, ears, and nose, in order to give the nectar of his beauty, sweet-sounding voice, and fragrance. And then Jiva Goswami has a little bit different spin. Thinking themselves unqualified to pray to the Lord, they conclude by chanting his dear name sweetly in order to attain their goal. They offer respects with 8 limbs on the ground. We offer respects to you, Swayam Bhagavan, Krishnaya, who appeared to Vasudeva to show mercy to all the people, Vasudevaya, and then destroyed the suffering of even the demons, Haraye, not looking for their qualification, and showed yourself as attractive to all, Haraye. And you are the Supreme Soul by your nature, the shelter of pure prema for all beings, Paramatmane. Moreover, you destroy the obstacles to bhakti for your devotees, Pranata. You are most affectionate to your devotees and promote bhakti. This is shown by becoming a cowherd who walks in the forest, Govindaya. They offer respects repeatedly. So that's such very beautiful words by the Acharyas. And this is the summation of the prayers of the imprisoned kings, who we know were taken away by Jarasandha. And it's interesting because I think it was on Monday, it really struck me when Raghunandana Das was giving the class that Jarasandha was actually just sort of, he was a demon, but he was also kind of a change agent. The kings had become very puffed up. They were very prone to taking advantage of opulences. They were living a very, very opulent and, over-the-top kind of life as kings, because generally we hear that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when there's the kings of different, probably continents or different countries on the planet, and we hear about this today, the kings, you know, we hear about different people who, even though all of their subjects are suffering in poverty, maybe the king and or queen are living very lavishly. You know, I remember a while ago there was it was in the Philippines, it was many years ago, but you know, they had uncovered that the president and his wife were living very opulent lives, and the wife had like something like 300 pairs of shoes, and you know, meanwhile there's so many people poverty-stricken in their kingdom. So, you know, that's corruption. That's corruption in the simplest term. So all these kings were corrupt, and for whatever reason, Jarasandha imprisoned them, took them away. Then their corruption or their opulent lives, their good time was halted. And what was said on Monday in the class is that, you know, that happens a lot. It's happening now, you know, in our country. It's happening where, you know, somebody's a change agent, but behind those changes is Krishna. We can never deny the fact that Krishna does not sanction even a blade of grass moving, right, without his will. So we hear about these sort of things that are happening, but we always have to remember that, you know, Krishna's behind it all. And now the kings have understood, you know, they've understood. They were imprisoned, now they're gaunt and emaciated. They've been living very, very austere existences. And of course, the person that frees them, you know, and they're pious, so they were ultimately would be saved. They're remembering Krishna so nicely and giving thanks. You know, they're so grateful that Krishna has, they said, alleviated their suffering. There's a lot to be said about when the Lord alleviates our suffering. You know, we're all destined to suffer, particularly in this material world. We're all destined, we have our destined enjoyment and our destined suffering. And they're very fine line between the two. And if we, as sadhana bhakti practitioners, we don't understand that Krishna's behind everything that happens, and Krishna is giving us what we need actually to advance in his service or advance in our understanding of who he is. And that's actually part of Krishna's reformation process through his so many agents, Maya and so many agents. In this particular case, you know, we can understand that he could have killed Jarasandha before, but apparently Jarasandha had some other role to play in his Leela. And this is obviously it, you know, because now there's a reformation going on amongst the world leaders, the world rulers. There's a reformation going on, and they can understand Krishna's behind. As soon as the rulers get into a mood of being the controller, being the enjoyer, and as soon as they get into that mood, then that's the time when Krishna or Maya must check them. You know, Maya is in our world, Yoga Maya, must check them, because then they're ineffective. They can't be effective as rulers or as examples or even practically as human beings, because I think in most cases, human beings, until they get a little bit of a taste of that power, they human beings are naturally humble when they come into the world. I mean, we see children. I'm just thinking of children, and children, of course, they're going to try to, have their autonomy and their independence. But, they're generally a respectful sort, if they were brought up in the right kind of environment, that is. They're generally, they know, just because they are smaller than everybody, if you're an adult and you're looking down at a child, naturally the child is just going to be sort of looking up and waiting for whatever is going to unfold. So, that's a little bit of a humble position. But then, then the child maybe is given a magnifying glass and points it at the sun. And then the sun comes through the magnifying glass and singes all the ants. How many people have we heard that have done that? They start exerting a little bit of control. And then in the case of some serial killers that we've heard of, even from a young age, they started doing things that were quite heinous and controlling of, small animals or other children. That's the sort of the bullying mentality. The bullying mentality means I'm in control, you're not, and I'm going to take advantage of you and make sure that you stay in your place. So those things are all there in the human, sort of the human makeup, or our genetics, more or less. And these kings, they've gotten quite humbled by their experience. A lot of times when rulers or persons kind of get out of hand and run amok, then something or someone has to check them. And in this particular case, finally, Jarasandha kind of did that, by imprisoning them. And eventually he was going to make examples out of all of them as well. I mean, he was the main one who was the most puffed up and obviously, thought he was the controller, especially since he had defeated Krishna that 17 or 18 times before. Of course, he thought he was the controller and that he was undefeatable. But we see that he's not, and no one is. Good will always triumph over evil. Lightness always overtakes the darkness. It's a fact. There's no disputing that. It happens again and again and again, but not before so many things happen before that, so many casualties or destruction or, the like. And it reminds me, this verse, because they're talking about Krishna alleviating the suffering. Krishna can alleviate suffering in a moment if we let him, if we call upon him to actually give us that strength to alleviate our suffering, no matter what we're going through, no matter what kind of misdeeds we're experiencing. If we're in that bubble where we're experiencing distress instead of happiness, when persons are experiencing happiness, they're not really looking at Krishna or calling to Krishna, right? They're not wanting to experience that. They want to experience it all themselves. They want to, be happy within. And, maybe they'll call some of their relatives or friends to experience the happiness with us. Like maybe we hear about people who win the lotto and they get millions or $1 billion, and then they have so many friends and so many family coming out of the woodwork to be their friend and family. But sometimes people would want to share that revel in that happiness and share that happiness. But when it comes to the suffering, the flip side, no one can share that with you. And Krishna, or in our case, Yogamaya, is putting us in those positions to learn something. And now the kings have learned that Krishna is the ameliorator of their suffering. And it actually reminded me of practically my favorite verse in the Bhagavatam, because it gives me so much hope. This is 10:14:8. This is the prayers of Lord Brahma after he had stolen the cowherd boys and then returned them. Tate nukambam susamikshamano bunjaya evatma kritam vipakam ridvad vapurbir vidadan namaste jivitayo mukti pade sadaya bhakt. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. And I'm going to pick out some parts of the purport, but that's our only hope in this world, actually. You know, we have so many past misdeeds, we don't even know. I was reading about, for Sunday's class, the bij, the kuta bij, and all of the things that are starting to fructify. They've either already fructified from our past misdeeds, they've already fructified, they're just in the process of fructifying, or they'll fructify in the future to cause us more misdeeds. And we can rest assured that if we're in our devotional service and we're fully engaged in trying to please the Lord will ameliorate our suffering. But, you know, as Prabhupada said, it's like the fan where you turned it off and the blade's still moving, and it can still hurt, you know, it still will cause some little bit of pain and damage, probably trauma. But if we aren't really stuck, you know, I see a lot of times people get stuck in their suffering. They think it's going to last forever. They think, you know, no one's suffering but them, you know. They're in a pitiable condition. Oh, woe is me. I'm going to suffer forever. I can't get out of it. No, everything's temporary, and just like our happiness, because I'm sure all the people that are stuck in that distress can remember a time when they had some happiness. They were happy at one point, you know, and they remember that when they're in distress. They remember those best times. But, you know, happiness, distress, Prabhupada said that this whole world is dukhalayam ashashvatam. You know, this place is full of material suffering, full. And once in a while we get a little bit of glimmer of happiness, glimmer of hope. But the point is that we all must patiently await that reaction, and patience and tolerance being the key. We must be patient and tolerant. We can't think that, oh, it's that person's fault, you know, that I'm suffering. No, we must, part of that patience and tolerance is really going deep down and understanding that, okay, I'm in this position, never mind why. You know, you can't put the blame game on people. Never mind why I'm in this position. I'm in this position because I deserve to be in this position. And thank you, Krishna, for not making it any worse. And in that way, that helps to be able to tolerate that you know, maybe harsh result of that past misdeed. So in the purport, I like this. Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. So just simply have to remain alive in Krishna consciousness. Just keep showing up. Just keep thinking, oh, Krishna, okay, it's kind of difficult right now. It will get better, but I deserve this. It could have been much worse. It's token reaction. And what can I do right now? Be resigned to that. We must be resigned to that misdeed. You know, we must not try to trace it out, or, you know, as so much I see, put the blame on others, you know. Try to place the responsibility for our own misdeeds on somebody else. Honestly, that isn't going to help the case with Krishna. You know, Krishna wants to see us take responsibility for whatever it is, you know, small or large. We must take that responsibility. Take responsibility for ourselves. And continue our sadhana bhakti in a very humble way, and just try and chant and serve, you know. There's going to be so many setbacks. There's so many setbacks each day, you know. The threefold miseries are always poking at us. You know, our bodies sometimes start to, you know, give us more trouble as we get older. Or we, you know, hear about others as well who are suffering, and we think, oh, phew, thank goodness that's not me. And that's true, but it will be you, and, you know, maybe not to that extent. It might be worse, but suffering is suffering for everybody. And to ameliorate the suffering of ourselves and others, there's really only one thing we can do, and that's to continue to chant nicely, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Really go into that. That's our main shelter in this Kali Yuga. You know, these kings, I don't know what they were doing. They were sitting in a jail for many, many months, or maybe years, I'm not sure, and, you know, probably lamenting their pitiable condition, and, you know, like that. But maybe they were chanting. They were remembering Krishna, because as soon as they got out, and then Krishna appeared, because they were pious, they were able to personally thank Krishna for all of his mercy. You know, we don't have that particular boon, but just chanting and really trying to deeply connect with Krishna each day, you know, that connection is a very intimate thing, and actually we can feel the mercy of Krishna coming through that connection. We can capture it, you know, we can kind of hold it in our hearts and minds and recall that when we are in distress. And we can chant in our mind. We don't need, there's no hard and fast rules for chanting. We don't need specific prayers even. You know, these kings have composed such beautiful prayers. We hear throughout the Bhagavatam so many beautiful, beautiful prayers. But we don't even need to do it that way, you know. We certainly can, but the main thing is chanting. Chanting Krishna's names. Chanting Krishna's names and connecting really deeply with the names. And remembering that Krishna is in his name. So when you do chant, Krishna's right there. He's right there next to you. He's waiting for you to connect with him, to pay attention to him, to love him, to really on that very easy, that you know, the chanting, it's so easy. I mean, I know it's hard, but it's just, you can actually, in your mind, you know, just do in your mind, just connect in that way. It's like the ultimate shelter, you know. Prabhupada and the acharyas have given us the ultimate shelter in this age to chant the holy names of the Lord without having to be very, use flowery words or, or be morose. There's absolutely no reason for us to dive into being morose or focusing on that suffering. Yeah, we could be suffering. We could be. And, we can understand that it's for our own good. But the better thing to understand is for our own good is when you come into that place of suffering and you're in your mind, you think, oh, wow, okay, so this is my time to suffer, but I'm going to chant because that will turn it around. And it always does. It never fails. The holy names never fail to turn around the conditioning, If you're really trying to connect, they'll actually create a space whereby it's kind of like, like a pearl. A pearl is just when the oyster has a grain of sand get into the soft, mucousy sort of part of their body. The pearl is the response to ameliorating that rough sand, even if it's just one particle of sand, they wrap it up so they don't have to feel it. And we can actually achieve that with chanting. If we wrap ourselves with the holy names in that way, we don't have to feel so bad. We don't have to suffer so much. Sometimes the suffering is like knives, in your psyche, but we don't have to suffer if we just wrap that suffering in the holy names, just like an oyster does with a pearl, and then it'll be nice and smooth, that suffering. And then you can see it from a little different perspective. You can think, oh, okay, I'm suffering. Yeah, it's pretty bad, because you can step outside of yourself. You can kind of step back and see that well, one, that the chanting is the protection, but two, that suffering is just temporary. It's only temporary. Nothing lasts forever. We're in this temporary world. We're going through so many things, but just the temporary nature of this world versus the transcendental and permanent quality of the holy names, it's no match for that, this temporary suffering. It's no match for the holy names. And if we can just remember that one point as bhakti yoga practitioners, just that one thing, even if we don't do any other service, we don't read, we don't do anything, if we can just remember the chanting and remember how fully present Krishna is in that, then we can always be protected from the suffering that we'll experience in this world. Yeah, it's real, it's tangible. Oh, we have a couple more minutes. Okay. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. All glories to chanting of the holy names.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Kanvandam Maravindanalayataksam Bhagavatam Tandar ako ikamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami 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 Govindam
Gopi Paranada, Gopi Paranadana, Madana Manohara. Kaliyada Mona Vidana. Kaliyada Mona Vidana. Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagaraburam Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagaraburam Vamsivadana Suvasa Haribol Brajajana Palana Sura Kulanasana Brajajana Palana Sura Kulanasana Nanda Godanara Koala Nara Koala. Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara. Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara. Sundarananda Gopala. Sundarananda Gopala. Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya. Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya. Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Bhakati Vinodasraya. Yasomachinandana Brajubaronagara Gokularam Janakana. Hey. Yasomachinandana Brajubaronagara Gokularam Janakana. Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara. Nanda Godanara Koala. Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara. Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara. Sundarananda Gopala. Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Pamoya. Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Hey Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Amalarina Mamiya Vilasa. Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara. Hey Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara. Bhagati Vinodasaya. Bhagati Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. Jayo Radha, Golokananda Radha, Golokananda Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Nitai Go Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Sila Prabhupada. Oh, Brahmanandi.
Lord Krishna is beloved son of Yashoda, transcendental lover of the land of Braja, height of Gokula, known by the name of the serpent Kaliya. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet nectarian pastimes. Youthful, nest of lovers, player on the flute, and excellent dresser, protector of the inhabitants of Braj, destroyer of demoniac dynasties, keeper and tender of Nanda's cows, giver of pleasure, cows, land, and spiritual senses, husband of the goddess of fortune, butter thief, and the beautiful little cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj, wanderer of the Yamuna riverbanks, thief of the garments of the gopis, enjoyer of the mellows of the rasa dance, very merciful, lover and beloved of Sri Radha, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the only shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan, Saturday from 5 to 7 in Durham at 5 Points. It's always a nice place to be, Saturday evenings, and lots of people there, so please come out.
I'll be there.
Chodarpanam Ardanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreyakaravya Chandrikavitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tororapi Suhishuna Amani Namanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamae Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gadashu Daraya Vadanam Gadgarudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Padamratam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Matprananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dusts accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate, I have no attraction for them. Oh, Lord, older the straw on the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, void of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me harder by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Shastika Ki Jai. Thank you to Acharya Sevak Prabhu and Radhakund Mataji for dressing Sri Sri Radha Goloka Nanda in a beautifully royal way today. Haribo. So many nice flowers and then a wonderful effulgence and